A big thank you and deep gratitude to all of you and to the organizers of Bioneers for inviting me today to share the work that Breakthrough has been doing to advance human rights in India and the United States, and hopefully around the world. You've already heard a little bit about what we do. We work in the United States on racial justice and immigration. We've created some kick-ass video games, and now we're working on a Facebook game that is looking at issues of migration and human rights right here in this country, which is going to be launching in February. But today, what I thought I would do is share with you the work that we are doing in India. And most specifically, what I'd like to do is share with you one campaign that we've been undertaking for the last several years, which is called Bell Bajao. Bell Bajao means ring the bell in Hindi. As I was listening to the speakers who went before me, there was one statement that Nina made that really, really stuck with me when she said, "Our wounds should inform us, not define us." And when she said that, I started to cry. I'm not a big public crying kind of person, and my nose turns bright red when I do. So I was really worried that my Rudolph-ness needed to have abated before I got up on this stage in front of you all. But I really want to extend deep gratitude to all the speakers who have gone before me to really demonstrate the incredible leadership that everyone in this room and this space exemplifies as we seek to build a better future. But let me go back to telling you the story of Breakthrough and Bell Bajao. So as you know, violence against women is probably one of the world's biggest pandemics, one of the biggest human rights pandemics. 1 out of 3 women in the world experience violence against women in some form or another. And the irony is that as we talk about changing the world and as we talk about building sustainable communities, we really need to understand that unless we recognize that human rights need to begin at home, with respect for women and equality for women, that we really aren't going to succeed with all the other enterprises that we're all engaged in. So Bell Bajao, it's a simple concept. It's a campaign that calls on men and boys to take a stand against domestic violence. It's a simple action of saying, when you see violence, when you hear violence, don't ignore it, interrupt it. And in this framing of the issue and asking people to ring the bell, we're changing a narrative. We're changing a narrative that says violence against women is a women's problem to saying violence against women is everybody's problem. It requires all of us. Every single one of us to change this narrative to one where we can understand that peace really needs to begin at home. So we do this work in India at 2 broad levels. One is through the mass media. We partner with Ogilvy and Mather to create really compelling campaigns, and we engage in grassroots mobilizations with young people, with community leaders, young people who may or may not be in educational institutions, community leaders from all walks of life, so that everybody becomes a stakeholder and becomes a human rights leader. I'd like to show you what this work actually looks like in action. So I'd like to ask that we start with the first video, which shows how these 2 narratives come together.
In a small town called Mandya in the state of Karnataka, a group of teenagers decided to watch television in their neighbor's home every evening to stop him from beating his wife. This is just one of hundreds of actions that people around India are taking in response to Breakthrough's Bell Bajao campaign, calling on men and boys to take a stand against domestic violence.
हिम्मत कैसे हुई तुम्हारी? How dare you?
क्या किया मैंने?
क्या किया? किस सास से इस तरह से बात करती हो? What do you think of yourself?
मेरी क्या गलती है?
Shut up! Shut up! गलती अब मैं करता हूँ। झूठ बोलने की आदत पड़ गई है तुमको। Just because I don't say anything. तुमको बस एक ही भाषा समझ में आएगी। एक ही। एक और बार अगर ऐसा हुआ ना तो मैं
एक फोन कर सकता हूं? हेलो जी, हाँ, मैंने ही फोन किया था।
Bring domestic violence to a halt. Ring the bell.
Bell Bajao has transformed the national dialogue on violence against women with one simple message: everyone must take responsibility for ending domestic violence. Thousands of young men and women trained by Breakthrough are driving this message home. They are taking Bell Bajao into homes, schools, shopping malls, and workplaces.
ब्रेक थ्रू की ट्रेनिंग के बाद हम लोगों ने महिला दिवस पे 3 इवेंट किए थे नुक्कड़ नाटक के। समाज को ये निर्देश देने की और उनको ये समझाने की कोशिश करी कि जो ये लैंगिक मतभेद है वो अच्छी चीज़ नहीं है और महिलाओं में और पुरुषों में जो अंतर है उसको मिटाना चाहिए।
संकोच है कि हम लोगों के सामने कैसे जाके बोलेंगे, कैसे बात करेंगे। एक शर्म जो थी आंखों में कि नहीं हम नहीं कर सकते ये चीज़, तो वो चीज़ ख़त्म हो गई। और ऐसे ब्रेक ने ट्रेनिंग दिलवाई कि माइंड ब्लोइंग।
अगर सोसाइटी में कुछ भी हो रहा है चुप जाते थे, चलो ठीक है हो रहा है, मुझसे इसे क्या मतलब। लेकिन ट्रेनिंग करने के बाद हम लोगों ने ये महसूस किया कि अगर कोई भी घटना हमारे सामने होती है, नाइंसाफ़ी के खिलाफ होती है, तो अंदर से ये इच्छा करती है कि हाँ इसकी हम मदद करें और जहाँ तक संभव हमसे हो सकता है हम उसकी मदद भी करते हैं।
इसको करने का मेरा महत्वपूर्ण लक्ष्य यही था कि मैं सबको जागरूक करूं। और ज़रूरी है कि अधिकतर लड़कियों को HIV एड्स के बारे में और कॉन्डम के बारे में, सेक्स एजुकेशन के बारे में बात करने में हिचकिचाहट होती है। और इस ट्रेनिंग के बाद, ब्रेक थ्रू की ट्रेनिंग के बाद हमें इन सब के बारे में खुल के पता चला है और मैं अब सबसे इसके बारे में खुलकर बात कर सकती हूँ।
अभी जानेंगे तो फिर हम आगे भी सही राह पे चलेंगे और फिर शायद 10 लोग को और बताएंगे। इसलिए बहुत ज़रूरी यही जो टाइम होता है, जो एज ग्रुप, यही एज ग्रुप होता है जो अभी सीखता है और आगे सिखाता भी है।
So I want to just step back and share some of the methodology with you before I share some more videos. So we believe that human rights belong to everybody, that dignity, equality, and justice are the birthright of every single person on this planet, and then it extends out to the entire world, to all of nature and everything around us. We believe that it is not just people who face abuse who are responsible for upholding human rights, but that it's all of our collective responsibility. We believe that culture changes culture, that if we do not transform the cultural narratives around us, that if we don't challenge those values that uphold violence, that uphold abuse, that uphold exploitation, with values that promote tolerance, that promote dignity, that promote peace, that we will not be able to succeed in the ways in which we dream and desire. We also believe in results. We think it's important to always measure change. So we use very rigorous evaluation methodology. We do baselines, we do end lines, we track how many people we've reached, we look at how we've changed attitudes and behavior. And in the communities that we are working in, we've seen a 49% increase in awareness about the new Domestic Violence Act in India. We've seen a 15% increase in demand for services, and all kinds of stories are coming in onto our blog, from stories that are being collected by those young people that you saw in the video, of people who are ringing the bell, who are interrupting violence. And so we bring together the mass media narrative with cultural tools at the community level. I want to share with you another story of young women in a city called Lucknow in northern India, young Muslim women who embroider to earn a living. So can we go to the next video, please?
में पढ़ रही हूँ। मेरे परिवार में 7 लोग हैं, मम्मी पापा, 4 बहनें, 3 भाई। मैं ठाकुरगंज में रहती हूँ। ब्रेक थ्रू की पहचान मुझे मेरी फ्रेंड से हुई। एक्चुअली मैं तो टीवी वगैरह में ऐड देखती आई थी, मगर मेरी फ्रेंड ने बताया कि ब्रेक थ्रू की ट्रेनिंग है, तो मैं वहाँ ज्वाइन हुई जाके।
मुझे बहुत नई नई चीज़ें मालूम पड़ी जो कभी नहीं सुनी थी मैंने, जैसे घरेलू हिंसा के बारे में और एड्स के बारे में, जिनके बारे में कभी सुनने का सपना भी नहीं था, मतलब कि जानने का वो भी नहीं था। कि घर पे रहती थी तो उसका कोई मैटर नहीं पता था इसके बारे में।
जागरूकता फैलाने के लिए हमने रैलियाँ निकाली, रैली को भी ज्वाइन किया। जैसे मैंने यहाँ चौक में भी निकाली और बहुत लोगों को HIV एड्स और घरेलू हिंसा के बारे में भी जागरूक किया।
कैलाश, ओ कैलाश, हमको कुछ नहीं मांगता, हमको हमारा घर खाली मांगता। रमाकांत, तुम बीच का आदमी है, तुम ही बात करो अपने फ्रेंड से।
अब मैं आप लोगों को बताती हूँ, घरेलू हिंसा अधिनियम 2005 में लागू हुआ है। ये महिलाओं के अधिकारों के लिए बना है। अगर कोई महिला पर किसी व्यक्ति द्वारा मार पिटाई या अत्याचार किया जाता है तो वो महिला उसके खिलाफ भी।
ये पपेट शो की ट्रेनिंग हमें अशद सर ने दी थी और ये 10 दिन की थी। उस टाइम मेरे एग्ज़ाम चल रहे थे, मगर मैंने फिर भी मैनेज किया और पूरी ट्रेनिंग की।
मेरी बहन की उस टाइम पे बहुत हालत ख़राब थी, तो वो एडमिट थी। तो मैं जब प्रैक्टिस करने जाती थी, उससे पहले खाना बना के जाती थी, वहाँ से आकर के भी खाना बना के हॉस्पिटल भेजती थी। उसके अलावा मेरे भाई ने थोड़ा सा कहा कि वहाँ क्यों जाती हैं, क्या करती हैं, तो मेरी मम्मी ने उनको समझाया।
जो बात हम लोगों के सामने खुलेआम नहीं कह सकते थे, डरते हैं, वो हमने पपेट शो के द्वारा किया। भले ही उसके पीछे छिपके किया, लेकिन फिर भी हमने लोगों को जागरूक किया कि एक औरत के अधिकार क्या होते हैं, उनका सम्मान करना कितना ज़रूरी है, या वो भी एक मर्द की तरह साथ कंधे से कंधा मिला के चल सकती है। उनको पूरा बराबर का अधिकार मिलना चाहिए। लोगों के जो यानी अच्छे विचार कमेंट्स मिले, वो बहुत सुन के बहुत अच्छा लगा और ये सोच लिया कि अब हमें ब्रेक थ्रू का साथ नहीं छोड़ना है। अगर कभी इसमें और भी हम लोगों को कुछ काम या कुछ वर्क करने को मिलेगा तो हम ज़रूर शामिल होंगे।
So these 75,000 young people that have undergone breakthroughs training in India so far have turned out to be extraordinary human rights leaders. They're challenging child marriage, they're challenging sexual harassment, they're challenging dowry, they're challenging issues faced by widows, they are challenging government corruption, they are demanding water in their communities and their villages. They are taking on caste-based discrimination. They are challenging the religious persecution of minorities. What we have seen is that when you open the door to talking about human rights through the issue of gender, by insisting that equality and respect begin at home, you open up the door to actually taking on social change in all these different manifestations, in all of these different ways. I'm sharing these stories with you not to highlight that violence against women in India is a particular problem. It is. We have one of the worst sex ratios in the world today. We have huge forms of persecution and abuse against women, but this is not an India-specific reality. This is a reality that is faced by women all over the world, including here in these United States of America. And in the methodology that we are using, where we are using mass media and PSAs and games and arts and culture, combined with community grassroots training and activism, we are seeing the emergence of a methodology that really can be applied in many different parts of the world. And we've been inundated with requests from people in such far-off places as Argentina, as Nigeria, as Vietnam, asking us to partner with them to take Bell Bajao to their countries, use these methodologies to challenge violence against women and to promote human rights. And a number of people in the US have come up to me and said, okay, when are we bringing Ring the Bell right here, right now? So at the Clinton Global Initiative 2 weeks ago, we announced the launch of our global Bell Bajao campaign. And we're very pleased that the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has joined us as the first global ambassador of the Bell Bajao campaign. And I'd like to share his PSA with you.
Secretary General of the United Nations, there is one terrible problem that we can address as individuals: violence against women. Millions of men and boys in many countries are stopping this violence. When they suspect that they hear the sounds of a woman or girl being abused, they ring the doorbell and ask, "Can you tell me the time?" This is a simple step, but a very effective one. It interrupts what's happening. It shows that people are watching and listening. It may give a woman the chance to escape. It helps to stop the violence. Find out more at bellbajaoglobal.org and join my campaign, Unite to End Violence Against Women. Bell Bajao. Ring the bell.
I have to tell you, it was quite a trip to be at the UN while this video was being taped. I mean, it was just like, I was standing there going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, the UN Secretary General is coming on board. And it was so interesting because, you know, everyone said, oh, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, he's so, you know, quiet, and what kind of a PSA is this going to look like? It's going to be so boring. And you know, we did the first cut, we did the first take, and it was kind of like lame. And you're standing there thinking, how do you ask the UN Secretary General if you can do a second take? And lo and behold, he himself said, you know what? I want to do it again. And the second time you saw him, I don't think I've ever seen him this passionate and this inspired. And I was like, thank you. It was really wonderful. So we're going global. And what that means is that we're asking everybody to become a breakthrough ambassador, to join the community in ringing the bell and saying, we have to stop violence against women. I often reflect on the words of Eleanor Roosevelt, who is one of my biggest heroes, and I love to reflect back on her role in the drafting of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And she said in the 1940s, where, after all, do human rights begin? They begin in small places close to home, in workplaces, in schools, in families and communities. And for breakthrough, as inspired by the words of Eleanor Roosevelt, human rights really begin with you. Thank you so much.